Alright guys, sup, it's George here. Today we're going to be doing a video, obviously. It's going to be me and you. We're going to be talking, I'm going to be talking, you're going to be listening, and we're going to be talking about training principles. We're going to be talking about how I see people train majority of the time. 99% of people. People wonder why they're not making progress in the gym, right? People wonder why they're using the same weights week in, week out for years on end, right? People wonder why they're not getting the results that they want throughout their training sessions, right? So I've got a few points that I want to go through today. We're going to take it one by one. I'm going to be going through it. I'm going to be ranting. I'm going to be talking shit. I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to be me in front of a camera, trying to get used to this stuff as well. So hopefully you take something out of it. I believe you will. And from there, we will start. So majority of the people that I see in the gym these days, right? They're generally doing the same thing week in, week out, right? I see it 99% of the time. Everyone's doing the same stuff. They'll make progress at the beginning. Of course they'll make progress at the beginning, because when you're starting off, any tension that you're going to be placing on your muscle, in terms of when it comes under a load, your body's going to respond, right? How does it respond? It responds by building muscle. Crazy, right? Now, the thing is, you can have shit form with it for a certain period of time when it comes to training and stuff like that, right? And you'll be squeezing out your progress there. It'll get to a point where your progress starts to like kind of plateau, right? It starts to like come up 3, 4, 5, 6 months, also almost 1 year. And then if you still keep that form, you know, you're not really progressing with it. You're not really understanding how to actually contract the muscle and use the muscle that you want to use within that set, within that exercise. You're going to begin to regress. You're going to begin to plateau. You're going to get stuck. You're going to be wondering, why am I not making the progress that I was at the beginning? Okay. Hold up. So, a list, right? Shit form. A lot of the symptoms. These are some of the symptoms that I see of the average gym goer, right? And then they complain. Shit form. Throwing weights. Unnecessary yelling. Throwing weights on the ground that can be controlled easily. Using weights that are too heavy. Not understanding the difference between strength and hypertrophy / muscle building training. Okay, now, I always have people come up to me, they're saying, oh, what's the best exercise for this? What's the best exercise for that? Blah, 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 blah. There's no best exercise for something. There's optimal, there's less optimal, there's things that are going to be working for you, there's things that are not going to be working for you. There's things that will be working for you that won't work well with another person, right? Dumbbell bench press, for example. You might respond well, you might be able to recruit the chest fibers correctly within that movement. The next person doesn't really understand how to do that. The next person's torso length is different, their limb length is different. It's not a very optimal exercise for them when it comes to growth, okay? You have to understand that. You have to find what exercises are going to be working best for you. One guy might say, oh, incline bench press is the best exercise for building chest. It might not be the case for you. It might be incline dumbbells is good for you. It might be incline hammer strength is good for you. It might be incline Smith machine press is good for you, but not barbell. For whatever reason, who knows? There's 1,000,001 reasons. Now, when it comes to the difference between strength and hypertrophy training, a lot of people think that just lifting heavy weight is just going to build muscle. And yes, it will to some extent, of course. Okay, especially within the newbie years, right? You're going to be getting those newbie gains. You're going to be responding to anything like I mentioned before. But as you progress and as you become more advanced, you have to be smarter with your training, right? And that's where a lot of people lack. They really don't understand. And this is where you either, number one, do your research and figure it out for yourself, or number two, you hire a coach and they can teach you stuff and show you the path to go down and show you things that you didn't know before. The majority of people think they know everything when they really know fuck all. That's another problem, but I won't get into that right now. the difference between strength and hypertrophy training, okay? When it comes to hypertrophy training, we want to be able to stimulate the muscle. Now, I'm not saying you're not doing that in strength training, but a lot of the time it's moving weight from point A to point B, okay? You're going to be recruiting a lot of other muscles to assist you in getting that weight from point A to point B. Whereas with hypertrophy training, you really want to focus on the muscle being worked and moving the weight using the muscle being worked, right? If I'm doing a bench press or a dumbbell chest press, for example, whatever, I want to be having my chest in front of my shoulders, pushing away from me, pushing the weight away from me, right? And driving my back into the bench. So you want to be thinking about pushing yourself away. You want to be thinking about driving and squeezing. You want to be thinking about squeezing through the range of motion and controlling on the way down, right? Now that leads me into my next point, which is controlling the eccentric portion of the movement, right? Another thing I see, grab some weights, set it up, boom, nice explosion, and then there's this, dropping. There's two portions to a movement. There's a concentric and there's an eccentric, okay? The concentric portion is the push, the explosion, right? The eccentric portion of the movement is the control, using those muscles to actually control the weight coming down. You want to be making the most of both of those portions of the movement for optimal growth. You want to be able to control that weight on the concentric and on the eccentric. Therefore, you'll be getting more bang for your buck. When it comes to the concentric portion of the movement, yes, you do want to get the weight from point A to point B, but like I mentioned before, you want to be using the muscles. You want to be able to recruit the muscles that you're working to move that weight. I could push 60 kilo dumbbells like this, right? But if I try and actually recruit the chest fibers as much as I can to move that weight, it makes it a hell of a lot more difficult, okay? That's another thing that you guys have to understand. Now, pausing and squeezing at the contraction point where tension is maximum, right? On a bicep curl, right? We're sitting there, we're doing our bicep curls, blah, blah, blah. Similar thing, controlled explosive concentric, squeeze at this point where your arm is 90 degrees. This is where you're going to be getting maximal tension. Being able to recruit that bicep and squeezing as much as possible at that point is going to lead to optimal growth. Controlling, like I mentioned before, the eccentric, lengthening completely, coming back up, squeezing, repeat. Rinse and repeat. Another thing, ego. This leads from the point that I made before, where it comes to using too heavy of a weight for a movement, right? You should not care about what the next person thinks about what weight you're using, okay? What does it matter to Jeffrey what weight you're using for optimal growth? If you need to drop from 100 kilos to 60 kilos on a squat to be able to actually recruit and feel the muscles that you're working, do it. You're going to be getting more out of that than you are from going up, down, up, down, up, down with subpar form and recruiting other muscles within the movement that don't need to be recruited. A lot of momentum, a lot of dropping into the hole and coming back out, using it as an elastic instead of actually controlling and pushing with your quads or your glutes, blah, blah, blah. All right? Throw the ego out the door. I can't stress this enough. This is one thing that it took me time to understand. Once I understood it, and once I did drop the ego, that is when I started making some serious progress, okay? And this is years into my training. You have to have form at the forefront of everything. From there, you progress weekly, either by increasing the weight, whether it's 0.5 kilos, 1 kilo, 1.5 kilos, right? Or you can increase the reps that you do for that same weight, for that movement. And guys, you don't have to progress on each movement every week, okay? That's unrealistic. That's unrealistic for the majority of people. it's very difficult to do. If that was the case, everyone would be Ronnie Coleman by I don't know, 5 years, you know what I'm saying? You can't just keep going up linearly on every lift and expect to do that week in, week out. It doesn't work like that. Another thing, implementing deloads. Now I don't have this one written down, but off the top of my head, a lot of people don't implement deloads. Now, whether that's because they don't feel one, they don't feel like they need one, or they just don't know about them, or they don't know how to implement them. 3 different reasons. If you feel like you don't need a deload, you're not training hard enough, right? Simple as that. If you feel like you don't need a deload, you're not training hard enough. If you're training with maximum effort each day in the gym, you're going to need a deload 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks down the track, right? And a deload doesn't mean you have to stop training completely. A deload can mean you just drop the volume by about 50%, focus on form, focus on squeeze, getting blood into the muscle, and I guarantee you, if you go back to the gym the next week, you'll be pumping more weight than you did the week prior. 100%. Not 100%, but 99% sure, right? And you feel refreshed, your CNS has refreshed, your CNS has been given time to relax, recover for a full week, and then you can go pump out as much as you want for another 6, 8, 10 weeks, right? That's another thing to implement. More or less, we've come to the last point that I've got at the top of my head, progression techniques. This is something that a lot of people will just use willy-nilly. They'll just chuck them in. They don't really know what they're there for. They don't really know what they're doing with it. And that's fine. There's an abundance of information on the internet, and that's why it's my job to be here to make things really simple for you guys, right? Make things really simple. Get rid of all the bullshit. I've filtered through all the bullshit. Of course, everything's still, everything's a learning experience. Everyone's still learning. No one's ever perfect. I'm sure there's some things that I still don't know about, or there's some things that I believe are true today, but might be different within a few months or a year. That's just normal. But I can guarantee you the majority of the stuff that I've filtered through, I've either tried myself, or I know people that have tried it, or I've done the research for it, okay? Progression techniques such as rest pauses, cluster sets, drop sets, double drop sets, triple drop sets, supersets, giant sets. Those are just some at the top of my head. I'm sure there's a few extra. Things like that, implementing them in your program in a smart way will assist you in getting through your plateaus and will help you get stronger and will help you train smarter, right? You can beat the shit out of your body, but if you're doing the same thing week in, week out, you're not really focusing on your form, you're not really implementing these progression techniques in an intelligent way, you're not going to be getting the optimal progress that you can, okay? And that's where it leads into obviously my job as a PT, as a coach, to be able to tell you guys when to do that, to be able to teach you how to implement it over time, I get a lot of my guys to learn some of these at the beginning so that they can understand how it's used, and I'll use them here and there. I'll sprinkle it in across different exercises on different days and stuff like that, just so they can get the understanding. But when it comes to the point where they become more advanced, I'm able to actually teach them how to use it so that one day they can walk away from me, they can say, I've learned this much, I'm going to be set for the rest of my life pretty much to understand what I have to do by myself to progress in my bodybuilding lifestyle or fitness and training lifestyle. All right, that's the ultimate goal as a coach, is to have your clients pretty much absorb all the knowledge that you have filtered through and learned over the years, and then one day they can just fuck off and they can go do it themselves. And if they want to, if they want to teach other people, they're more than welcome to. But basically, they want them to take the knowledge and run with it, and not have to spend any more money on coaches in the future. So that just about sums it up. I just want to say thank you for watching. It is a little bit different for me talking to a camera. I have to get used to it. Staring into a lens, it's like staring to the abyss, into the dark soul of Satan. I hate it, but I'll get used to it. I'll get better at this. And I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM or leave a comment down below in the description, and I'll get back to you. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment for the algorithm if you can, even if it's just a few letters or a few words. I don't mind. It'll help me a long way. So if you have any video ideas or anything you want me to cover, any specific topics, send me a DM or leave it in the comments. And until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching.